Recording.
All right, we're back on the DRZ today, and this is my second ride with my Dunlop GPR 300s. Pretty excited about having those on. But this video is about my top 10 mods for the DRZ. Let's see if I memorize my stuff correct, because that's one of my weak points. So if you bought a brand new DRZ, here's the things that I would look at getting on in the order of importance. Number one would be crash protection. What kind of crash protection are we talking about? Well, the case savers. That's number one. The case savers on the side of your engine. Thumper Talk used to be the leader on those, but they're just adhesive both on the clutch side and the stator side. You can combine protection with some bark busters. You could do bark busters, you could do some foot pegs, or you can also implement, a lot of people use different through the axle sliders to protect your bolt, because the factory ones, you go down on them once and they're probably gone. Number two is suspension. So suspension, what would you do on the suspension? Well, you can be as simple or as complex as you'd like to be. Okay? There's some baseline settings in the front that I'm not going to tell you what they are, but SoCal Supermoto School does a really good job of explaining those essential things. But basically, you're cranking up, for the most part, your rebound dampening in the front. And my recommendation, I keep it pretty much in the middle on my compression dampening. It does a good job of compression dampening for the size of springs for me. I'm 200 pounds. And in the rear, I pretty much insist on staying with or at the stock spring and then compressing the spring or adding preload. And Dave Moss does a good video on that. Or you can do a full Race Tech suspension, complete with valving and all that business. That's up to you. Number three, notice I haven't said anything about engine or anything like that. Number three would be brake lines. The stock brake lines, they just don't get the job done. If you're going to be doing a lot of wheelies, your rear brake, you're going to be dragging your rear brake a little bit, or a lot of bit, you're going to end up with a lot of brake fade. And if you're going to track it a lot, you're going to want to have that benefit of holding back that power on your master cylinders, putting out, your brakes are heating up, those brake lines are going to expand and you'll lose some power. Number four, now we start getting into some again, we're focusing on getting this bike more rideable and safely. The headlight, I'm going to go ahead and pigtail the tail light for aesthetics. You can get like the Yoshimura, or there's many other ones of the tail Eliminator, because the factory tail light is hideous. But the J&S Industries is a good one, or there's the Ford Fabrications bracket, and then you put your own 4x6 headlight on there and get you an LED, and that's a no-brainer. Number five is seat. I'm sitting on the Seat Concepts tall seat. Well, Dewey, you're not tall. I'm under 6 foot. I am under 6 foot, but it's this taller seat is squishier, and my buns like it. It's comfortable. You can go with the low. If you're a height challenged person, you can go to the comfort seat. It's real good and wide. Sky's the limit. You can even get like a seat cover one from them or somebody else. but that's going to improve your comfort. Number 6, now we're starting to get into the fun stuff. Exhaust. The exhaust is going to be something that you're going to want to increase, but that's going to be tied with, or that's going to be combined with number 7, the jetting. So we'll get there. Don't you do one and not the other. Well, it'd be dumb to do the other. But anyway, what I'm going to say is your exhaust, you can do a slip-on, that's fine, but you're still stuck with a pretty restrictive header. So full exhaust is a good option. An MRD is one that's probably the most ear-piercingly loud. There's good old FMF with the power bomb. There's Yoshimura. And you know, there's the Delkovich and all that, and it is an improvement, but you have no back pressure with that exhaust, and that can affect some things for you, like your throttle response, but it also can improve it a little bit. But my combination is the FMF header with the Two Brothers exhaust. But I had to stretch that Two Brothers exhaust to fit on this. But the one that I have on my E model and I really like is my Barker's exhaust, because this exhaust pointing straight back is loud. And even the Barker's exhaust going straight back, I'm assuming, is just as loud. But on the E model, I have a downturn tip, and I'll see if I can put a picture in here of it, that deflects the sound away from the rider. It's fantastic. I really like it. And it gives you every bit of power that you'd want. But you don't get that power if you don't do your jetting. So if you're going to stay with the stock carb, that's fine. You're going to improve it even if you don't do an exhaust by doing the jetting, because the needle on the carb, the on-off valve, if you will, the timing of when that fuel can come on is your needle. To make emissions, they have that needle buried deep into that main jet. And that's just no fun. And you have a restrictive pilot jet. It makes it a little bit harder to start. So they have jets for your application, your altitude, needles for your altitude and riding conditions and settings. JD jetting gets the job done. Now, I'm going to piggyback that with an upgrade. I kind of stuffed some things in some of these. The JD jetting, it does also have a setup for an aftermarket carburetor, the Keihin FCR39MX. The E model comes with the slant FCR39, which is a big improvement, but it's just not as updated as the FCR39MX. And JD Jetting has the same kit, or a different kit, a specific kit for that particular carburetor. And they've got instructions that you should follow if you're going to put that on there. And some places that you can buy those from, they can come set up for your application. But you're going to want to have some jets in case you change your setup. And you're going to have some instructions and needles, etc., 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 to modify your setup for you to make sure that you're right. All right, so we're 7 and 8, I think, is where we're at. Okay. Number 9 on my list is engine mods. This is where you start talking about something very simple, like the kickstart, which I have. But it can also be a troublesome deal if you don't know what you're doing. But some people will be more than happy to help you do that and get it done for you. They won't do it for free. Then we're talking about big bore. We can go big bore. You can stay stock bore and increase your compression, you know, up to 12.5 to 1, and that way you can still run on pump gas. Or you can go, like what I'm talking about, a big bore or a big bore stroker, which is what I've got in this bike. You can also do other things like doing a wide ratio transmission, which I did on my E model. Just depends on your application. I'm glad I don't have that on this bike for now, unless I build one, which I have all the materials. And then we're also talking about cams. You know, a lot of people do modifications to their head so they have stronger springs in order to run. There's certain brands of cams that require aftermarket springs that have a great deal of lift. You can do larger valves and all that business. All of that does require different jetting, so you're going to have to know what you're doing or get somebody to know what they're doing to be able to get that power out of it and get your engine to run a long time. And last and definitely not least, you could probably put this up towards at any point on here. It's just where it ended up falling, and that is the free power mod. The charging coils, the charging components, the rectifier right here by my left hand runs its output wires all the way through this harness and then to the battery. Well, if you know anything about electrical, you'll know that DC voltage does not like going a long distance. And if you do have to run it a reasonable distance, you better have a bigger wire. And this has both problems with it. It goes quite a distance. Oh boy. And it's on a pretty small wire. So I've proven this, even on this bike, that your charging voltage on stock raises it up to about 13.5 volts, which isn't bad. But when you reroute the outlet directly to the battery with a fuse on the positive side, in case you have a short, you end up with 14.5 volts on the button. Unless your battery's kind of dying, and it'll eventually get up to that point and then drop off when it's done charging. So that will help your stator, your rectifier, and your wiring harness to last longer and not fail you. And also help your battery keep charged so that it keeps healthy. You should also run a battery tender. But anyway, there you have it, folks. There's my top 10 mods for the DRZ. There are many more, but those are my top ones. Let's talk about what your mods are that you think should be on this list, and which one you'd take off instead. There's many of them, and I would definitely like to hear what you have to say. So until next time, thanks for watching. Ride safe. Enjoy your DRZ. DRZ Whisper out.